451 games, 363 goals, 272 assists. These aren't team stats. These numbers belong to the greatest trio the game has ever seen. Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez and Neymar. This South American combination had the rest of Europe struggling to cope every week. And for the period they played together, they were unstoppable. In just 3 years, they redefined football, won 7 trophies, including that iconic treble in 2015. But when it gets down to it, just how good was the MSN? To understand this, we've got to go back to how it all started. Just a couple of years back, the signs became evident.
Pedigree champions again. There are Barcelona hands on the European Cup at Wembley once more. Revealed when they beat Real Madrid.
Barcelona hit another peak by winning the Champions League in 2011. But after that, the problems going forward gradually became too much to ignore. The 2011-12 season was special for Lionel Messi. He scored 91 goals in the calendar year of 2012 and broke so many records. But collectively, Barcelona watched on as Real Madrid recorded most wins in a single La Liga season. In the Champions League, that agonising defeat to Chelsea in the semi-final meant they'd missed out on the big ones that season. The same thing happened in 2013, this time getting thumped 7-0 on aggregate by Bayern Munich in the same stage. And at this point, that problem had become glaringly obvious. Lionel Messi couldn't do it on his own. They'd lost Pep Guardiola as head coach after the 2011-12 campaign too, and went through Tito Villanova before he unfortunately passed away. Gerardo Martino was appointed next, and it was during his tenure Barcelona acquired one half of the solution to the attack, Neymar. His signing for Barcelona was controversial, a 57 million euros deal at the time, but rumours about offshore payments to his dad's company and agents meant that figure could have been much higher, and Barcelona had to fight off competition from the likes of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid just to get him. The following season in the Champions League, they got knocked out in the quarter-finals by Atletico Madrid, the same team that ended up winning La Liga, and watched as the other Madrid club, Real, won European football's biggest competition. For a third successive season, Barcelona had fallen short in the big ones again. Something was missing, the final piece of the puzzle, and new head coach Luis Enrique was determined to get it all costs, even if it meant waiting over 3 months into the new season. When Luis Suarez joined Barcelona, it raised a lot of eyebrows. Why? Suarez was still serving a ban for this Count Dracula incident at the World Cup just months back, and wasn't going to be able to play until October, months into the season. But still, the club took a chance on him. And like that, the MSN was born. That doesn't mean this trio didn't come with the controversies though. Initially, the big question was if these three would be able to coexist as a unit. Messi was no doubt the star attraction, but in the same light, Neymar and Suarez weren't small figures either. Neymar was the hottest property in South American football. I mean, get this, he'd finished in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or rankings twice in the space of 3 years, despite playing outside of Europe. Luis Suarez was no joke too. He was coming off the back of a 2013-14 Premier League season with Liverpool, where he'd equalled Cristiano Ronaldo's record for the most goals in a season, won the PFA Player of the Year award, and came agonising close to taking Liverpool to a First League title in 24 years. The trio went against football's unwritten rule too. We'd seen teams assemble superstars in the past and fail, the likes of AC Milan in the late 2000s, so many superstars who couldn't gel, and there was every reason to believe the MSN could have ended up in the same category, but they didn't. Straight away, these guys showed they were special. This wasn't just a relationship of 3 footballers on the pitch, it was 3 brothers in sync off it. Listen to Neymar talk about Messi here, and you immediately get the idea. Messi was like a big brother to him, the same with Luis Suarez too.
Things are simply natural since he was a child. That is the reason why he's the best in the world, and will continue to be this way for a long time.
He liked Messi, and in the same interview, talked about Messi and Neymar as being the number 1 and number 2 best footballers in the world. In their first season together, Suarez scored fewer goals, 25 compared to Neymar's 39 and Messi's 58. This wasn't an issue because Suarez played selflessly, providing 21 assists, willing to sacrifice personal glory to create for his teammates. Messi was equally selfless, registering the most assists among the trio despite scoring an astounding 58 goals. Perhaps the biggest impact of the MSN was the tactical revolution they'd created across Europe. Take this goal against Arsenal as an example. It showed just how fluid they were. They could easily interchange positions, and each player would be comfortable on either flank or down the middle in linking up play. By rotating roles, they confused opposition defense and put up crazy numbers too. 363 goals and 272 assists in 451 games. They had more goal contributions than games played, 62.7 minutes per goal or assist. It's crazy to think how in each season they spent together, they all had the one season where each stood out individually from a numbers perspective. Messi in the 2014-15 season, Neymar also hitting an all-time career high of 39 goals in all competitions in the same season, and Suarez in the 2015-16 season where he won La Liga's Golden Boot Award and the European Golden Shoe. Because of how good they were, combining performances like this with goals and assists, they'd caused managers across the continent to immediately start changing tactics. Teams like Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, and Manchester City, the heavyweights, all struggled against this fluid attack. It didn't matter the system the manager came up with. Take for example an Atletico Madrid team that back then was based on defending as the team's way of attacking.
Después de sacar ese balón, enfocan al míster volviéndose loco ahí en el banquillo. Disfrutábamos defendiendo, porque sabíamos que era el camino para ganar.
They loved to defend according to former defender Juanfran. But against Barcelona and that front three, defending was the barest minimum. They had to defend to survive. Or take then Juventus coach Max Allegri. To him, stopping the MSN from performing was an almost impossible task. And that's because it had become the general question across Europe. How do you stop these guys? You don't, you only hoped and prayed. They had forced Europe to search for tactical solutions to the problems when teams faced the MSN. Think about it. The likes of Pep Guardiola's Bayern team, a side that was used to dominating possession in the Bundesliga and the rest of Europe, had to stack up defensively. And that was to avoid any collateral damage by allowing the three up front any space. It wasn't just Bayern Munich, it had become a problem in general. It was still in an era where Barcelona had the likes of Iniesta, Xavi and Busquets in midfield before Xavi left the club in 2015. So you had teams trying to figure out how to stop that Bermuda Triangle in the middle because they rarely gave away possession. And the up top, the MSN ran the show. They weren't just revolutionary for what they did on the pitch, but also what they did to teams off it too. Clubs began desperately trying to assemble their versions of the MSN. It became forced duos, forced trios. The only real competition at the time was the BBC, Gareth Bale, Karim Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo from Real Madrid. The point is, with all these guys, the benchmark was always the MSN. They had to live up to the standards they'd set. It's hard to look past what Messi did to Boateng on that night at the Nou Camp in 2015. He had one of the world's best defenders on roller skates, did him dirty, and then dinked the guy who'd just been crowned the third best player in the world by FIFA months back. It didn't end there.
Bilbao have never been relegated from the Primera Division.
It's something to be admired, I have to say. Well, there's three of them, Riley. Still going. Look at this, Kevin.
It's a brilliant run from Messi. Will he go all the way?
Messi's iconic solo goal versus Athletic Club in the Copa del Rey final of 2015 was one of the greatest goals the game has ever seen. Neymar and Suarez weren't left behind. I mean, this one still amazes me. Neymar takes the ball on the spin, confuses the Villarreal defense, and still has the composure to finish before it drops. Or Luis Suarez, and that volley versus Roma. See guys, all of this was just part of the package with the MSN. They'd raised the standard in football.
Tell me about tiki-taka. Where did the phrase come from and how do you pronounce it properly?
Tiki-taka, that's something like this. That's how he puts the ball as quick as possible and these sort of things. But it's when we started in Barcelona to do positioning play. It's responsibility of the ball, where you play, how you play. Controlling the ball is the basis of football. In the beginning that was something where people laughed about because they didn't understand that it was football until it had the results and people enjoyed it, people loved it, and now it's a fantastic word.
It was like they remodeled tiki-taka, but with that South American flair that just made you love the game. Suddenly, it wasn't just enough to win. It was about winning with style, entertaining the crowd, the dribbles, tricks and skills to get the fans off their feet, all of that stuff. Anytime Barcelona played, they put on a show. All of this, what they were achieving, had changed the football world financially too. I mean, think about it. The only reason PSG were willing to cough up a world record fee of €222 million for Neymar in 2017 was because of how good they'd seen him with the duo of Suarez and Messi at Barcelona. It wasn't just him too, it had become a widespread perception that cuts into the present day. Neymar's transfer? Inflation. Now, if a player is likened to any one of those front three, it's become a theme for clubs to go all out to get the next Neymar or the next Messi. Atletico Madrid paid €126 million for Felix. The replacements for Neymar at Barcelona, Dembele and Coutinho, both cost the club over €100 million. Clubs were willing to spend any amount just to get players who could match up to these guys. Ultimately, like every superhero movie, this beginning has to have an end. The MSN ending came down to this: Neymar's decision to leave Barcelona for PSG in an attempt to become his own star. And it just proved that no matter how strong a bond is, it's capable of breaking at any time. Guess it's safe to say since that moment, Barcelona has been in a constant state of rebuilding. The club regressed in the following years. Suarez left in 2020, Messi left a year after, and some officials like former President Bartomeu got exposed for some shady deals and irrelevant transfers that ruined the club's finances. Right now, with what they've got, Barcelona and their fans know they're in a familiar situation. Rafinha, Lewandowski and Yamal, very similar to the MSN, and tearing up records like the trio did from 2015 to 2017. They're the gold standard, nothing changes that. Since the MSN, there have been trios like Liverpool's Mane, Salah and Firmino, or even Messi reuniting with Neymar in Paris to form the M&M with Kylian Mbappe. But even these guys have nothing on what the MSN was and what they achieved. The MSN didn't just break football, they made us wonder if we will ever witness magic like this again.